Well, come on in to the House Project. So I know you've had a sneak peek before, but things have changed a little bit. What is going to change fairly soon is this door. And the great news is, that's my new one over there. Well, my old new one. I've spent a little bit of time over the last couple of weeks actually scouring some demolition yards to find the right style of joinery, and also joinery that's of a similar age to what's here already. So new front door on the way. So over the last couple of weeks we've been working hard at relining, and that's been a really big stage in the project. So I've gone through with GIB standard, but I use 13mm plasterboard right throughout the house, and I find that I'm getting an extra thickness. I find that over old boards it kind of self-supports itself, and I think you get a better finish given the rough state of the old walls. So we've relined, the stoppers have made a start, we're underway with our finishing lines, and we've kind of worked out what we want to do with the chimney. So I've taken away all of the framing, exposed the brickwork, and now I'm going to work on a finish for that as well. Wardrobes are in, and I've got a few bits and pieces to do, but we're getting pretty close to being able to get my eco decorators underway, which is super exciting. One of the things that I really wanted to achieve here is sort of open. It's not a particularly wide hallway, right? That's never going to change, but what I wanted to do was make it feel a little bit bigger. So by taking out the door frame, which didn't have a door on it anyway, and lifting that head up a bit and opening up this line all the way through, I think I've achieved what feels like a bit more space without actually building more space. The layout of this bathroom is not dissimilar to the one that was already here. I haven't changed the walls, I haven't changed the size of the room at all. We're going to have a shower, we're going to have a toilet, the old clawfoot bath is going to move around and be underneath the window here, and then a wall-hung vanity. And, well, we're still thinking about tiling, but we are going to do some tiling. So, as a substrate for tiles, I'm using 13mm Aqualine. I'm fixing the Aqualine off at 100 centres. You need to do that if you're tiling over the top of the Aqualine. I've still got a substrate to go down, then my waterproofing, and then I can get underway with tiling. So there's a lot of steps in the bathroom. It's not a big space, but I've always found it's actually one of the more complex and challenging rooms to get finished, simply because you think of all of the various subtrades and all of the elements that are here. So a little bit of planning is crucial in getting the bathroom right, and then also having a clear vision for what you want to do. So it's still a work in progress for us, but that's okay. Next job is also to scrape back these ceilings, because that paintwork's in pretty poor condition. So it needs a lot of preparation work. I'm going to hand this over to the painters as soon as I've got the last of the Aqualine on. There's a couple of features with this bathroom that I'm kind of excited about. One is that I'm going to be working with my mates at Warm Up. So they're going to provide me with a whole suite of services that I need in the bathroom. They've got the preformed hob or the shower base and a channel system for the waste there. So the water just simply runs down on the preformed slope and drops into a nice simple grate. That looks really simple and elegant. They'll do all of the waterproofing, so right up to the top of the shower, and wherever there is a splash area, it will waterproof up behind the bath. Once I've laid the substrate here, they're going to come in and do the under tile heating system for me as well. And then, you know, we're kind of used to those things now, but this one has a new controller, and the controller now is also able to control my heated towel rails. So in the past, they were always a little bit tricky to work out a system where you could, you know, turn them on at the right time, have them on for a certain amount of time, that sort of thing. That's all going to happen in one controller that will look after both the underfloor heating and my heated towel rails. Bathrooms can be kind of tricky spaces to work in because there's actually quite a lot going on behind the scenes. So before we've lined all of this, we've done a few things. One is, obviously, I've got power feed for the underfloor heating. That comes up to the controller. The controller, of course, needs power. That comes from my switch here. From here, though, this is the interesting thing with the new warm-up LED controller, is that I can control the underfloor heating, but also I've got a feed from here, which is running to my bar heated towel rail here, and also to my 4 bars, which will go on the wall over here, and I can control both the heated towel rail and the underfloor from one controller. It feels like, you know, renovation projects are hard work, and it feels like sometimes you're working away, and it's like, is there an end in sight? And that's where I'm in the living room now. I've got plasterboard on the wall, the stoppers have been in. Where there was a leak in the roof, we've pulled that board out, we've replaced a couple of battens, I've got some trim to go around. I've opened up the fireplace, taken all of those bricks out from inside there as well, ready for the new fireplace. And you can start to get a sense of what it's going to be like. And you know, even the fact that we've taken up the old floorboards here to get underfloor insulation in, to get our vapor barrier, to get rid of the rotten floorboards in this corner of the house, it all starts to feel solid now, which is kind of really exciting for the house. This is the third bedroom. It could also be a study. This was always a funny space in the sense that it had a beam that hung down here below the lean-to ceiling. It had an understud there that supported the beam. So we've taken exactly the same beam, moved it up, put the understud into the wall, and then I've wrapped the tongue and groove around, formed like this little bulkhead. And then tomorrow's an exciting day because this remove with the polyurethane gets sanded back and we're going to go white. Big surprise. But I just think it'll look really modern and crisp. So this room, in fact, for making a few small changes, has become possibly one of my favourite rooms. And with the new Altus joinery, I now get that view into the backyard. Yes, I know it's covered with building material, but it proves that, you know, this could be a lovely space, and then straight out into the backyard. One of the real milestones with any project is getting closed in. So super excited when the French doors arrived, when the slider, the bifold and the other slider all arrived. I've opted for matte black aluminium joinery. I know it's an old house. I know that heritage houses typically have tilted joinery, but this is a 1990s edition. So I don't think it's the wrong thing to do to go contemporary, and certainly the black joinery has been great. You just look right through it. I really like it. The beauty is at the back of the house, I'm going to get quite a lot of solar gain here, northern aspect. So the double glazing is going to help me there. As part of the ebb and flow of the job, there's different milestones, and when you start to do finishing lines, then you know that the end is in sight, and that's kind of exciting. And I love doing finishing lines. I like the fact that you have to be careful that you're using solid timber in this instance. And I love the fact that I've ended up with a profile that on a previous job many years ago, I worked with an architect who designed this one up. I talked to him about it and he's quite happy for me to use it again. So I've had this one particularly run and this skirting profile, because the challenge with this particular job is that I've got an old part of the house, which is 1905, and then I've got this relatively modern addition. I've got aluminium joinery at the back and I've got traditional double hung sash windows at the front. And so I was looking for a finishing line that would allow me to combine or to be used on all of those elements. And I think by having something that has elements of the old but is pared back, is kind of simplified, works really well. So the guys at Outpost Timber have machined this up for me, the skirtings and the architraves, and I've had a very happy day doing finishing lines. So out through the French doors, in through the bifolds, and wow, these they've made just a massive difference to how this space feels. You know, this was always boarded up, and I was here early the other morning, morning sun coming in through here, bifolds in. You know, I've got to clear all my stuff eventually, but even coming in the front of the house, I noticed that this middle section of the bifold kind of lines up neatly with the hallway. So what I wanted to achieve, that link of the front to the back, is starting to happen. What's really going to cap that off is I'm standing on the top of the floor, which took a lot of work to get level. It was terribly, terribly out of level. So the guys have worked here, a little bit of grinding, a lot of filling, tidying up this area, and then my new overlay floor is going to link all of these separate spaces, and that's going to look great. A link from the hallway through the living room, flowing into that extra bedroom, out here into the dining room, and then, well, in a couple of weeks' time, I'll be sitting here at the breakfast bar, reading the paper, it'll be great. So this space at the back of the house is going to be the extension of the hallway into the dining area, and this is going to be the kitchen. So this was part of that 1990s extension, which essentially I've left here. And as much as I love the timber, I really want to change this. So the guys are going to start tomorrow to sand back the polyurethane, a sealer coat, and then I'm going to paint the ceilings out. It means that I have to change the positions of all of the lights. That's a lot of work tomorrow to patch the ceiling, but it's going to look really good. So this is the kitchen and dining area, and it's part of that 1990s extension, and I'm keeping it. I'm not going to keep the ceiling as it is. That's going to get painted, and it will lighten up this whole space. So here's how the kitchen's going to run. Laundry here in a cabinet, washer and dryer stacked above each other, fridge next to it, pantry in the corner, a slightly revolutionary, innovative design, my own design actually for the pantry, so fingers crossed that works. Tower here with a microwave, the bench starts here, hobs, oven below, extractor above, wrapping around, kitchen sink over here, dish drawer underneath. We'll have breakfast bar here. So I think it's a workable kitchen. It does the triangle thing really well. It's got some good preparation space. I do like having a breakfast bar. You've got to have somewhere to read the paper in the morning. There are lots of different options with joinery today, and I've ended up with sort of joinery that I think works for the space. So I've chosen some French doors out of the bedroom there. I've actually got a little slider there next to the dining area. I've got bifolds here, so I get that nice big daylight opening. And then I've put a little slider here, and I'm sort of thinking, you know, I might do a little herb garden out there. You could be in here, maybe even just reach out, grab a couple of herbs from out there and be working away in the kitchen. I think it's, it kind of feels a little bit old-fashioned almost, but I think that the slider here is a really, really practical solution. And above all else, I want my kitchen to be practical. A big part of getting a fully insulated house is not to dodge the hard bits, and getting under there wasn't easy, but the guys from Green Stuff have done an awesome job. So I now have insulation in the ceiling, I now have insulation in the walls, and I've completed my thermal envelope by ensuring that I've got good quality insulation underneath the floor as well.